Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution.
The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
Good morning, everybody. I want to start this off by saying, man, I should have paid a lot more attention in school. I am learning day by day by day by day that there were a lot of things in school that were of great value to me that I just didn't pay attention to, because at 65 years old, I am learning a lot every single day, and a lot of this stuff was stuff that I should have learned in even just high school. So, and a lot of it has to do with this show. And as a matter of fact, a lot of it has to do with learning from my two good buddies here. Hey, good buddies. How you doing there, good buddies?
I liked your intro, though. There was one thing that caught my eye when I was looking at your intro. It says, "Vote, Save America," and I agree with that. But I would have to kind of put a caveat on that. Let the right people vote, the ones who are righteous and know the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. Because some of these buffoons that you see, I wouldn't want them voting for anybody, because I don't even know if they know what a voting machine is anyway, but that's a whole nother story.
Mm-hmm. So there should be big signs out in front of voting places. Only righteous people can enter here.
Exactly. I mean, did you see that clip from New York in front of the museum? I don't know what it's called, American Museum or something. One of the biggest museums around for history, and they had the Teddy Roosevelt statue out in front with the black man and an Indian, a Native American, a Native Indian. Right next to him, he's on the horse and all that, and they want to tear that down. Obviously, they just want to get rid of that thing. But there was this New York feisty woman. Oh my goodness, she was awesome, and she was leading a protest to keep the monument. And this one little whippersnapper, 20-year-old from the American University, came up to her and said, "You better check your white privilege at the door," or something like that. And even a black man went in front of her and said, "Hey, whoa, what are you saying?" And she said, she was just slicing him, and he had no response to her questions about the history and all that. He was just dumbfounded, and he sunk like a rock in a lake. It was great.
Wow, I have not seen that video.
Oh,
no.
it was awesome. It was awesome.
I'll bet it was.
I mean, this sure. She was probably about 70 something, maybe 80. I'm not sure. We have one of those here in Boston. Her name is Margot, and she would have been the same kind of thing, and right in the face, not caring at all about any repercussion. Yeah, I love it.
But you know what I think they have to do? I think they how when you're going now, because of the quarantine and everything, when you walk into any kind of a facility where you have to have a one-on-one with somebody, they put that the thermometer on your forehead to make sure you don't have a temperature. Well, we need to have some type of a thermometer on people's heart to see if they're alive.
Wow.
And if they're, there should be some type of a barometer to say, is this person sane? Is this person righteous? I mean, there's got to be a pulse.
That'd be good.
There's got to be a pulse, a way of detecting, because the sanity. Are you sane or insane? So I've got 10 words that I would like to say. Can you tell me the 10 words that were spoken from Mount Sinai? If you can tell me, you can vote.
Oh, wow. We are on shaky ground this morning, boy. I'll tell you, So would we call this the fruit meter? I don't know. Okay. Yeah, boy, you guys really just hit it head on, coming right on in. This ought to be a great show. Well, I've been talking to Sherry this morning. She's having trouble with electricity and internet both, so she might be here, might not, but I think she's on the road to getting closer to having all of that taken care of on a regular basis to have much better connections all around, and will be joining us, if not today, on later episodes in a lot better deal. But oh man, sometimes I will have to say we are living in distracting times.
Yeah.
Right now that sometimes I have told my wife several times, it's like, I'm 65 years old. I have worked my entire life, and I've struggled, and I've had good times and bad times, but I've worked to make it to this point so that now I can rest. So will the world just leave me alone and let me rest and stay? Will you please just settle down so that I can enjoy, the next 40, 50, 60 years of my life? Hey, I can want. The Lord gives me the desires of my heart. Can't you just leave all this crap alone, man? Seriously, it's like, anyway, it gets quite overwhelming for me sometimes, and I've been able to handle a lot of things in my life. But anyway, so.
I mean, it does, because it's so much on what we're talking about here, the Constitution of the United States of America and the law and the order that takes place. And now what we're seeing, which is a good thing, is we're seeing that President Trump and the Attorney General Barr and the Department of Justice is starting to step it up a bit and arresting people. I'm waiting for the parade. Usually they bring them, in the public view, so that it acts as a deterrent. But they have posters and putting on social media, identify these people, that kind of thing, of the ones that they could, that have been destroying, federal property, state property, and that kind of thing. So I think that's a good thing of what we're seeing. It's a little. I think wish it would happen a little bit more, but usually states, for the most part, take care of this. But if you're looking at what's going on, you're seeing all these blue states, blue cities, blue towns, even in Texas, like Dallas and Houston, which are much more democratic in their population than others. But you see things starting to backlash on these so-called protesters, which are, what are they protesting now? Is it still George Floyd? Which would be a good thing. That would be fine. But it's defunding the police. It's removing statues. It's and then statues of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Ulysses S. Grant and abolitionists. that were pro against slavery and or anti-slavery and fighting for that. And yet, but there was something that happened in Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, where a gated community, really very wealthy gated community, and these protesters broke through, supposedly sanctioned by St. Louis, because St. Louis would do nothing when they called up the police. And these protesters went through, and this is really a very highly concentrated Democratic area. Rich people, but they're Democrats. And they went after this lawyer who brought out a gun, an AR-15 or something like that, to protect his family, because he was just having dinner, and he heard this mob, and they broke through his gate. And he is a staunch left Democrat who's a lawyer that's been helping the black community with lawsuits for free and or very low cost, and yet it's backfiring because they're stupid. They are stupid people, and they're just eating their own, as they say. And you just kind of stand back and say, Father, just open up our eyes that we may see what's going on here, and open up the eyes of the electorate that we may see, both Democrat, independent, conservative, Republicans, and everybody else, independents, everybody, to see what's going on, and let it be that we vote the right person in, because it says vote to save America. I agree with that. The Father is ultimately the king, and he's the one that protects us, but we have to do our part as we are in this land, not of it, but in this land, and we need to do our civic duty and vote for someone who saves babies' lives from the womb, someone who protects them, who goes against Planned Parenthood, who is non-establishment, is a shaker and a mover in the establishment in Washington, the bubble in Washington hates it. So, all right.
No, don't be sorry.
I'm not part of
James has got a lot of things on his mind today, and he's letting it out there. Well, this is the show to let it out, and I'm with you. As a matter of fact, I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of upholding the law and arresting people for so many things, but where does the right to do this, and who has the right to make those laws, and how does that work is something I'm very interested in lately. And I think one of the reasons is because just a few days ago, I'm in North Carolina, and I get an email from my representative, state representative, every day, 7 days a week, updating, me and whoever gets this email on what's going on in the state, mostly the CV. Oh, by the way, I've started calling it the CV ever since watching, the Trump rally in Tulsa the other day, and he now calls it the China virus. And so it's kind of like I just call it the CV, and somebody asked me, "Oh, you mean coronavirus?" And no, the China virus, is kind of the way it is. But anyway, so anyway, I get these emails, and just a few days ago, of course, I get one that says the governor also announced a statewide face covering requirement, which requires individuals to wear cloth covering, and blah, 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 blah. It's so funny because for the exact same thing, they have multiple different ways that they call this. And on down, now it's here's the governor's executive order. First of all, it's a requirement, then it's mandatory, then it's an executive order. So I'm interested. Okay, what is it? And what is an executive order from the governor actually mean? And of course, you can go read the whole legal document. Here is the whereas, and you come to face covering. Whereas face coverings can decrease, blah, 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 is an executive order, underside requirements, blah, 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 to prevent, blah, 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 the undersides. So anyway, it keeps going on here. See, the undersigned has determined that face coverings must now be required for workers in a business, and I mean, workers in personal care, grooming, and tattoo businesses wearing cloth face coverings. By the way, first of all, how come places like clothing stores are not essentials, but tattoo parlors are essentials? who made that decision? I want to meet you face to face. Please call me, come and talk to me. I want to meet you face to face that you decided for this. Who decides what's essential? And so anyway, I did my own research here. I got like 5 tabs open of different things, but to boil it down, from what I understand, is an executive order is the governor can make an executive order, but it's not a law. It is a recommendation. It's a requirement by him, and it is 100% non-enforceable by any government agency or police department or anything like that. So, and don't get me wrong. I want to put out my disclaimer here is that, the only time I have worn a face mask in public was in the doctor's office, because last Wednesday morning, instead of doing the show, I trying to fix a door strike plate, and my utility knife got out of hand, slipped, and sliced my hand open right there. And I ended up, instead of doing the show last week, I ended up in the urgent care, waiting over 4 hours to be seen by a doctor. I told him, you need to take the word urgent off of your sign out there, because there's nothing urgent about this place. And I got 4 stitches in my hands. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, I should have done the Constitution show. This is not better than doing the so anyway, all of that said, it's kind of like what is an executive order? It's not law. But then I find there are state constitutions, which I knew that, but I didn't think that they were all that big a deal, and found a site at paralegaldu.org, state constitutions versus the United States Constitution. And let me slip that in here real quick if you want to go check that out. And blah blah blah. It's all the state constitutions are longer, bigger, got more stuff. They can be changed several times more than the United States Constitution. It doesn't take as much to do all of that. But once again, what is the bottom line here is that this means that state governments and officials cannot take actions or pass laws that interfere with the Constitution laws passed by Congress or treaties. So, it's kind of like a pretty big deal here. Interesting on this page, state constitutions versus the United States Constitution. Down at the bottom, it says state constitutions are more open to amendments. Amendments can be proposed by legislature, a constitutional commission, or citizens petition, and can be accepted by referendum. For example, the Constitution of the state of Massachusetts has been amended 120 times. The Constitution of Georgia has even been replaced altogether as many as 10 times. So, the people of, I always thought the people of Massachusetts were really wishy-washy. It's like, it's just like, you guys, can't you just come to a decision here, but anyway, so I don't know. It's like, but then let me finish and then I'll let you guys in here. Then I'm listening to Rabbi Daryl last Sabbath on, talking about authority, Korah, Torah portion, and that we should listen to our leaders and abide by them and not fight against our leaders and stuff like that. And I'm listening to this going, Daryl, I do this. I'm good. You know, hey, stop preaching at me. Hey, no, I love Daryl. He's great. And then it gets down to the end, and it's kind of like I'm thinking about this executive order by the leader of my state, the governor. And he is, you know, he's trying to save the state. Within these emails that I get from our representative, oh my gosh, the county I live in, we are continuously having more reports of people that are getting the coronavirus, more and more and more, thousands at a time, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, man, I'd hate to be in these guys' shoes, but hey, all right, you know, I mean, if you want, for the next 3 weeks, you want me to wear a mask in a store, that's fine. I've been to the store twice and still haven't worn my mask. Don't tell Daryl, please. But, you know, I got it in my back pocket because, you know, in case somebody gives. Anyway, they can't enforce a law that's not there, but you have to remember that every business has the right to refuse service to anyone they want. So if you're not wearing a mask, you know, they can come up to you and give you a hard time, and you can say, well, it's not a law, you can't enforce this. Well, they have the right to refuse service without a law. So anyway, spark up, people. What do you want to, what you got to say about this? Don't look at him, AviGayle. He doesn't have to answer first. You can answer first if you want to. You don't have to go after him.
I would believe me. You know me. I'm not a loss for words, but I personally, when I think in terms of submitting to authority, I mean, I did a little research on the governor's executive order, and it really doesn't carry a lot of weight. It really does not have a lot of clout. It does have it for state agencies, his state, but as far as governing agencies, it doesn't carry a lot of clout. It really doesn't. But one thing that happens with this virus scenario is people are constantly being instilled with fear. And that to me is a very strong defense, if you will. It's just gotta, you know, we have to know what is right and what is wrong. And that's why I love what President Trump says. President Trump says, they all want him to dictate. Everybody wear a mask all the time, you know, and then they want him to wear a mask all the time. And he's not going to dictate to that. And I'm in agreement with him because he says, and Vice President Pence too, he says, this is a free country. We can make suggestions. We can say it would be, you know, this is what the specialists say. The specialists say, if you wear a mask,
right,
you know, you may have less chance of either getting the virus or giving the virus. But here's the big but. So many people have come out now and said it's been proven. Like they want to put, you know, they're not letting children back in schools. And it's been proven, unless they wear masks, and these little children. And it's been proven that they have a strong immune system. They don't usually carry the virus. They can conquer the virus because they have a healthy immune system. And so there's a battle going on with the minds, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And everybody, you know, is wearing their big knowledge hat, if you will, and they're trying to dictate to the people. Now, like you're doing, Mark, and like we're doing our due diligence, and we're doing some research on this, and we're saying, wait a minute, let me do my own research. We're not robots. We're human beings that can think. And that's what I love about President Trump, is he doesn't want to dictate. Does he want people to be healthy? Absolutely. But see, you know, when you're in the throes of the government like they are, and there's all these specialists that are saying these things. Now, do your little due diligence on these specialists. Who are these specialists yoked up with? Why are they enforcing this? Why are they holding back stores opening, like you said. You said, why are clothing stores not being opened, yet tattoo places opened? And I believe that there's in the day we're living in, sad to say, that there's a war within the war, if you will. There's a war going on within the war, and it's a war to bring down the revenue, to bring down the livelihood of people who are trying to. I want to get back to work. I will, I'll keep things sanitized. When people come in, like, for example, I went to a place again where I had to have someone put a thermometer on my head to see if I was okay before they would serve me. And I'm like, okay, that's no problem. I don't mind doing that. And we were separated. We were more than 6 feet apart and everything was cool. And they serviced me. But there's still an ilk, an ilk. It's an ilk. I'm going to say an ilk, an ILLK, an ilk. And they're trying to control the government and control the economy and to destroy the economy. And you know how we talk about words in the Bible? Words, words have a lot of control. They're almost spouting out, there's going to be a lot more virus going on. We're going to be probably having 100,000 cases a day. I forget what the figure was. But again, there's fear being instituted in people's hearts.
Hey, now, let me interrupt you. And I hate to do this, but I want everybody to understand that fear can cause a person's immune system to weaken.
Exactly.
And so fear, just because fear itself is no big deal, but it is a known fact that fear will cause your immune system.
Absolutely. And anxiety. Another thing is anxiety. Right. Anxiety, it says it in the Bible. It is written. Anxiety turns into depression.
That's right.
Which is another weakening of the human race.
And we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
That's exactly right.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just want to continue my train of thought.
Sorry,
I'm with you. No. You're with me. That's everything you're saying is spot on. Spot on. But the
you got it.
And I really sincerely believe this. And number one is, you say, why can't we just, live our life and, and do what we used to do? And because again, I was saying this for a couple of years now. This is not the America that I knew, and this is going on for now. It's going on probably almost more than 16 years. Just say that, okay? Let's just say that. 16 years, there's been a subtle changing of this is not the America that I knew, And I grew up in the 60s. So, I mean, the 60s wasn't really, it wasn't a picnic in the park type thing. Or some people thought so. Those who like the Beatles.
Yeah. Also the mayor of Seattle, but that's another story.
Exactly. We're having a love fest. Fest.
Yeah. It's just.
But the thing is this: we have to understand this, and this is to me the bottom line with us as believers, and us believing in the Word of God. It is not a fleshly battle. It's not a battle against flesh and blood. It's a spiritual battle. And spiritually, people are they're possessed by demonic spirits. These people who have so-called intelligence that are in these places of authority that are trying to dictate to people. Did you hear the word dictate? There's a word dictate. And these spirits are trying to dictate fear, doubt, unbelief, anxiety, depression, sickness. Why do they want to dictate that? Because it's going to increase their business. Their business is going to be increased. They're going to get their agenda taken care of. I mean, we really are in a spiritual battle. And if we don't get a grip on this individually, I can't do it for you, Mark. You can't do it for me. I can't do it for James. James can't do it for me. We and ourselves have to have a strong constitution. Let's contemplate the Constitution. Not only the Constitution of the land, but the Constitution of the Word of God.
Amen.
And we need to know who to submit to and who not to submit to. Would I submit to Moshe? Yes. Mm-hmm. Would I submit to Bilam? No. Would I submit to King David? Yes. Would I submit to King Saul? No. I'm just saying we have to know who we're going to submit to.
Sure.
We have to know what spirit is driving that individual.
Sure.
Over and out, Your Honor.
I rest my case.
I rest my case.
That's right. All right.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. We can even talk about the Supreme Court and all their wonderful decisions.
Governor O'Hare, it's now your time.
Yeah, no, I'm just the executive orders presented by governments. I mean, governors. Obviously, the executive of the country, the president of the United States, does multiple executive orders, and they all have since George Washington. I think George Washington did, 8 executive orders, one a year, average of one a year. And then, you go up to, Woodrow Wilson, I think did 1,800 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And Teddy was not too far behind there. And they want to take his statue. He did like 1,000 plus executive orders, and they want to take his statue away. I have no idea why, but the executive orders to me, you're right, that they're they're enforceable only through the executive office and the power that they may have. But from a state standpoint, it's probably not a lot of it, because you see they contradict their statements anyway. Their executive orders when all the governors, like Governor was it Whitmore from Minnesota, and there's the one from Seattle, and I can't remember his name. I don't really care about it. And California, the mayor in Los Angeles, and all these different places, Chicago, and all these different places, and even the blue cities like Atlanta and other places, Houston and whatnot. You see that as long as it fits their narrative, it's no, you can't go to church, you can't go to be in a congregation, you can't do that because you need to social distance, you can't gather with more than 15 people at a time, at a picnic, at a cookout, whatever. But when the protest started, what did Governor Whitmore do? She joined the protest. Same thing in Washington State, and same thing in Los Angeles. Same thing all over this country. They do not back up their own executive orders, even themselves. So it's like a power grab. It's like, I have the power. I'm going to, lord over you, because you are the what do you call them? The serfs. You're the serfs.
Oh, wow.
Serfdom type of mentality, where I am the lord over this state, and I am going to write this executive order so that you submit to me. And it's a power grab. And we see that. Now, I mean, most of executive orders that I've seen, are mainly for health type things, emergency, state of emergencies when hurricanes or tornadoes or whatever, even snowstorms. You get a lot of snowstorms around here in Massachusetts. And those can be good things because, you're telling people not to park, especially in cities, not to park their cars on the sidewalks because you have, or not the sidewalks, but in the streets, so that plows can do their thing, and there's curfews and things like that. And those are okay things. Those are good things. Those help the public safety because they clear the road so that the fire trucks can get through, the police can get through.
Sure.
And protect, serve us, unless you need them to be defunded because one or two bad apples did some horrific things, which you see that in any place. But so the thought process of these people is just they're just looking for their next election. That's all I can say.
No, that's right. It's good. Go ahead, AviGayle.
No, I was just going to say that if anyone wants to hear some interesting insight to what's going on and what needs to change, have you ever watched Tucker Carlson in the evening? No. You should check him out on last night's broadcast. Last night's broadcast, he gave an itemized revelation on what we need to look for concerning United States of America. I mean, it was so spot on. And so, I mean, it has to do with, I mean, I was looking for the breakdown on it, because what's happened in this, it's the blind leading the blind. And again, we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. It's not black and white. The Father created every single one of us, whatever color we are. He created us. It's who we believe in, and the spirit that's in us. What is our plumb line? Is our plumb line for righteousness according to the word of God? Or is it the dictates of the flesh? Apostle Paul talked about it in Romans 7. He talked about, why don't I do the things I should do, and I don't do the things why don't I do the things I should do and do the things I shouldn't?
Romans 7, right?
Yeah, because he said that the dictates of the flesh, he said the Torah of the flesh is warring against us. And that's why the surface of race is coming forth, because that's what the enemy wants everybody to think it is. It's not race. It's the contents of a character. It's the integrity of man according to his heart. And so we need to stay focused on that.
But it's also a power grab again, and dictating fear in our lives, because if you see what these groups do, the Black Lives Matter, the Antifa, and others, when you speak against them, they come right at you and disparage your name on social media, try to shame the people into submission, and we've seen it that we've seen like Drew Brees, a quarterback for whatever the team he is, the Saints, I think it is, came out about loving the flag and all that, and that group that is anti-flag and kneeling and all that kind of stuff came right against him, and he apologized like 3 different times in the next 24 hours. It's like, they come at you with guns blazing, and I don't, and I use that figuratively, but they come, and the Twitter feed gets lit up, the Facebook.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And shaming people into, oh, I didn't really mean that. I'm sorry. What was I thinking? Right. Please.
Well, it's all about the negative, and let me the negative. I don't know why it is that within people's hearts, just the average Joe, within their hearts, the negative sparks a person, and it makes you want to listen. It makes you want to find out what that is. I think it's the exciting part of it, whereas the good and the truth and the righteousness is for us that are of the Lord. That's what sparks us. The negative doesn't spark us. And anyway, I real quickly, I want to respond in a way that I thought about this yesterday. I was watching the show, and they were interviewing a guy that used to be a motorcycle stunt artist. And for 50 some years of his life, that's what he's been doing is stunt work with motorcycles and everything. And he's been wiped out a few times, but mostly he's won countless numbers of awards, been in lots of movies and everything. And they were talking to him about Evel Knievel. And it's interesting that this guy's name is Duffy. Something Duffy. Bill Duffy is what the guy's name. Do you guys know who Bill Duffy is?
No.
Yeah, see, nobody knows who he is, yet he has won countless more awards than Evel Knievel, but has wrecked a motorcycle a fraction of the as much as Evel Knievel. And what he was saying is it's all got to do with promotion. Every time Evel Knievel crashed, they promoted it. and it was out in the public and everybody knew about it and everybody went to see about this. But he won like a huge amount of money in an award, this Bill Duffy, for something that he jumped. And they said, we'll give you 5,000 more if you'll jump this. And he did, and he crashed, and nobody ever recognized that he won this huge award, but they've always recognized that he crashed afterwards. See, and it's the same thing with Evel Knievel. Everybody knows Evel Knievel for all the different bones he broke and all those different things. And yet this other guy did a lot more than Evel Knievel did, and nobody knows his name. And it's the same thing, like James, what you're saying with governors and anybody. If you have a bad governor and they want their name to be known, they're going to do things that are going to cause controversy. See, controversy sells. That's all there is to it. I mean, I got story after story on this. This is something I've paid attention to for years. And controversy sells, even in the ministry. Seriously, even in the ministry. If you do something that it seems wrong or controversial, people, they flood to that, even in the religious sects. Looky here, looky here, looky here. It's Joe Cameron.
I thought I'd pop in.
Okay, pop in. Thanks, Joe. We'll see you later. Bye. She popped in. She wanted to pop in, so I let her pop in. There you go.
Oh.
Hey, Joe, what's up?
What's up? Well, there's a lot of crazy things going on, isn't it?
No, it's winding down. We're pretty much going to. Pretty soon we won't have anything to talk about. You know, this show will just have to go by the wayside because there won't be any new controversies to talk about.
No, there never is in this world. Now, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is I have noticed that people have, especially these people that are doing all these things, they sit there and they say, when you are against a transgender, you're hateful. If you're against a homosexual, you're hateful. And if you're against this, you're hateful, right? Well, they have become what they hate. They have become what they say they hate. They're doing the things that they say they hate us doing. That we're doing things that are hateful. We're doing things that are hurtful. We're the ones spouting names at them, okay? And they're the ones that have turned into that. I had an episode, and it's a pretty funny episode. At least I think it's funny. I was at Walmart. I don't know if y'all have this at your Walmarts. They have the do not enter and enter little things on the ground. Okay. Well, my peripheral vision still is not very good. So I went through the do not enter section, not knowing about these little signs on the floor. I had a Walmart employee run down the aisle going the proper direction towards me going, you're not supposed to go this way, freaking out about it. Nobody else was in that aisle. No. There was no one. It was like crickets in that aisle but me. and I just looked at him. I says, what are you talking about? And he's sitting there pointing at the ground. I have a white cane. Y'all know that. I picked up my white cane and I just went, white cane. And I put it down very calmly. And he starts yelling at me. And I said, white cane. And he looks at me and he says, well, what do you mean? And I says, I did not see it. And I'm sorry. First of all. Yeah. Second of all, I said, you're not 6 feet away from me, sir. He was not 6 feet away from me. And he's yelling and screaming. The mask is covering his mouth, not his nose. And I'm just like, really? I had an old man do that to me as well because I went the wrong way. They have these signs 6 feet away, blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, it was hilarious. I went out to lunch with my husband. I mean, we have become so fearful that we've become fools. We have become so fearful in this nation and in this world that we have become fools to where there's no salt and pepper shaker on your table when you go out to eat. Have y'all gone out to eat? No. Places? You haven't done that. We went out to eat. We braved it. We went out to eat. No salt and pepper shakers. The waiters and waitresses are wearing their masks. Some of them are wearing them inappropriately. They're when they're asking you, well, what would you like to eat? The mask is going, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, it's a ventriloquist act. So we get our meal, and I said, yeah, I would like some salt and pepper. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to give you little packets of salt and pepper. They bring the salt and pepper shaker, folks. Sit it on the table, and you're using that salt and pepper shaker. And I'm just looking at that going, are you serious? You're going to go and you're going to take it off the table, wipe it off, and put it back over there. When you're, you wipe the table off every time. Why can't you just wipe the table? This is common sense, but common sense went out the window. Wipe the salt and pepper shaker, put it back on the table for the next person. Oh no, we can't do that. We can't do that. And then across from us, about diagonal, was a group of 5 people with masks on eating. They would take their mask off, take a bite, put the mask on, take the mask off. And I'm sitting there going, Father, this is crazy. They are preparing what I believe. Now, this is what I believe with all of this going on is they are preparing us. They've been doing it slowly, and now it's gotten a little faster to be submissive to what's to come. What's to come? What does the scripture say is to come? The Antichrist, right? The mark, submission. And one thing that the Father has been telling me to remember the story and read the story of Daniel. Remember what happened to Daniel. He did not bow down to the statue. Well, I am not going to bow my knee to a person that has a different color skin as myself, darker skin, whatever. I'm not going to bow the knee to you because you're not my God. I am not going to bow the knee to you. And I got to listen on YouTube, a black man, and I think I put on my Facebook, he sat there and says, I got to tell people. He says, I'm not black. I'm not brown. I'm not purple. I'm not green. Because guess what? I'm made by the God that created all man, and I'm made in his image. And he looks not at this flesh. He looks at what's in here. And we need to start looking at what's in here of everybody.
That's true.
Not the outer appearance. Because it's just like you can't judge a book by its cover, right?
Right.
And that's one of many problems that we have. And the fear is causing people to go cuckoo. I had a maintenance guy come, literally. I did this on the show a couple weeks back with the little head thing and the plastic.
Yeah, right.
Literally, maintenance guy to fix my AC yesterday came over with a trash bag on his being and gloves. Big old gloves, mask, hat thing on, booties on. And I just looked at him. I said, do you think the plague's here? And he just said, well, I don't want to get the COVID. I don't want to get the COVID. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. Come on in, check the AC. I'm not going to, if you feel like you got to wear that coming into my apartment, power to you. But
I wanted to take pictures of him.
I should have. Because that's what's happened. We focus so much on the flesh. And even there's a lot of believers. I've seen Messianics. I've seen Christians. I've seen atheists. I don't care what religious denomination you are. A lot of them have been going out there and freaking out over this and saying, well, God gave us common sense. Yes, he gave us common sense, but also he gave us wisdom. And he gave us the Holy Spirit, and he's shown us things in his word. And I loved what AviGayle said earlier, because it is a spiritual battle. And again, I'm going to say it again. Get the armor on, guys, because the spiritual battle has just begun.
Yeah, that's it. Well, AviGayle wants to check everybody. She come up with an anti-mercy test, I think is what this is.
Well, I think what it would show, Mark, is light and darkness. If
That's
you right. To their head and their heart, I see the light. If there's no light, there's a spirit of darkness in you. That's my, if we could, we can actually see that when people talk. I have that expression, your tongues are telling on you.
Right, right.
Talking, you know what's in their heart. That's what is written. You know what's in a person's heart by what they say. So I really think that we have to find some kind of a barometer that can show people who are walking in the light, walking in darkness.
That's why, that the shade that you used to, in the old days, I don't see them anymore, we used to pull them and it would go.
Yeah, yeah.
I sit there and I take my tongue and do that a lot. And I get ready to say something, I'm going, Pull the string and let it go back in there. And Father, hold that tongue right there, glue it, because there are times I want to say something when I'm out in public. But
Well, Gates is developing the thing that you put underneath your skin that tells you whether or not you've had the CV or not, and or have it or don't have it or been tested for it. I've not even, there's been so many stinking things, and I don't even know what it is. But so maybe we should have a similar thing. Get a tattoo if you've been saved. I don't know. You should have the save tattoo if you're going to go vote. I think James wants you to have a save tattoo. I am a righteous person on the side of your arm here before you can go in and vote, that kind of thing. So I don't know who we are anymore.
I just think talking to people, because the Father gave us a way of, and that's
right. I know.
I know. I'm just kind of like, I'm always bringing it to the. I mean, discernment. The Father gave us discernment, and that discernment lets us know. Just let me sit down and have a conversation with that person for less than 5 minutes, seriously, right, and let them do most of the talking, which is really, that's a miracle in itself. And then I can find out what's going on.
Right.
Joe, you're laughing.
Hey,
yeah, you and I are a lot alike when it comes to that thing.
Hey, James, if I get a tattoo of Jesus still on the cross on my shoulder across here, Jesus still on the cross, would that be enough to get in to go vote and tell him I'm a righteous person? Look, I'm a righteous person. Let me vote.
Well, it depends. Is it a white Jesus? See, they're going after the statues of Jesus too.
Well,
so
you're obviously in the north, and I'm obviously in the south. So,
and I wonder, if you go to vote, you got to make sure you go to a Catholic building with one of those.
Oh, we are out of control now. Let me tell you. So. All right. Well, executive orders. What weight do they hold? That's been the discussion so far. And of course, we're out on rabbi trails here. There's still 20 minutes left in the show. And so I have no problem, but at some point in time on these shows, we've got to get back to the Constitution. No, that is what we've been talking. We've been talking.
This all belongs in the Constitution. This is all, law and order.
We have been talking about it. Trust me. We've been talking more about it than I've heard on any of the news broadcasts. I don't hear anybody mentioning the Constitution. What does the Constitution say? What this one says, what that one says. What is it? What is written in our Constitution for the United States of America? Let's call up Mark David Smith. Here. Let's find out what's in the Constitution.
No. Though I will have to say, I am learning a whole lot on what we're discussing. Joe, I appreciate you coming on, hang out with us. Okay, so let's jump over. We've somewhat exhausted this, and
we are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.